Hello and welcome to CollectaThoughts, the show where I collect my thoughts on a video game. And today we're going to be talking about Forza Horizon 5, which, because of the type of game that it is, this is really not going to be an actual review and more just like an actual collection of thoughts. I'm not going to go very in depth into the gameplay mechanics of this one, just because I have really no interest in. I like when vroom vroom go fast and it feel nice. And this game does that. Instead, I really just wanted to talk about some random stuff about the game. I guess, the first thing you can get out of the way that everyone is talking about is how good the game looks. I personally think it looks good, but I'm not like out of my mind blown. I mean, every racing game that comes out new looks, better than the last one. We're not in the PS2 generation anymore. The jump isn't massive anymore. We very much exist at a time now where graphical improvement is much more of a small gradual incline rather than a large jump. But this is really not a complaint or an issue. The game still looks great. It's still probably the best looking racing game out right now, which of course immediately dates this video because you might be watching it when, well, it isn't. Because there's at least one new really realistic car game every year, which I only play if I'm in a very specific mood. But Horizon is a series that I found myself wanting to come back to because of the type of game that it is. It isn't so much a simulation racing game as it is more of a grand tour type of experience of riding around with expensive cars, which you also race. To me, in a lot of ways, the Horizon series is the spiritual successor to the Test Drive Unlimited games, which were games that were all about being kind of a rich guy with a bunch of cars. And the Horizon series has drifted even more into that kind of idea with the options to customize your characters more and buy houses, which were kind of the standout features of that other series. Even though here it does seem to be done more from a gameplay perspective rather than a purely aesthetic one. And even aesthetic wise, it does kind of look more like your traditional customization of a character rather than, every character looking like a rich douchebag. Now you just kind of look like sheltered trust fund kid who has no sense of fashion. At least my character doesn't. I give him a cowboy hat and some funny clothes. But actually, speaking of trust fund kids, we have to talk about the story of this game. And I'll be honest, it is a very grating story. It is probably my least favorite thing about this game. And the reason for it is because, you know how when you watch E3, or maybe you don't, but when they showcase a video game and it's a co-op one, and they show you how two people can really have a lot of fun with this game. And so they script two people having a lot of fun with the game. And it sounds really fake because that's not how people sound online. And it's like extremely over positive as well. Everyone is just always patting each other's backs for no reason. Ha ha ha, Janice. It was very funny how you killed me. Ha ha ha, Among Us. That kind of dialogue. That's every line of dialogue in Horizon 5. And kind of adding to that is also like the new setting Mexico, which as a setting it is cool for, purely gameplay reasons, but how they talk about it is really lame, I think. They're always overly excited about everything. To be fair, this might sound like the problem is that it's Mexico and it's not. I think the other games also suffer from this. But I don't know, I think they kind of doubled down with this one. And I get it, you can't really take the realistic route when you make a game about racing cars that cost more than houses and drink more gas than... I couldn't think of any joke that wouldn't get this video age restricted, so let's continue. Regardless though, it feels too much. It's grating. They just keep going, you're the best ever. Yeah, I'm so happy that you're the best. Oh man, it's so cool when you win. Oh yeah, you'd think it'd get pretty boring of you winning every time and no one else winning, but it's actually really cool. They actually say stuff like that without the irony. And I think to me the major thing is it just kinda comes off as fake. And even the more educational side of it comes out that way. Oh man, I really love Mexican architecture. Oh, I really love the deserts. Mexican food. Garuga mash. But honestly, the fix is very easy. Just go into the settings and turn down the voice volume to 0. The game is way too straightforward for you to ever need anything they're saying. It's about doing racing events. Sorry to spoil that. Speaking of that though, the game events really are just kind of race around. Yeah, there are some cooler moments like big jumps or environmental debris, and while that is cool, unfortunately I don't think they use it quite enough. I think they should have used the environmental aspect of it a lot more during races, but they really don't. I don't think I saw any normal race that had also a sandstorm in the campaign, at least. And there are already so many normal races in this game, it really wouldn't hurt to just kind of add some craziness to some of them. And this is really a non-issue, but I think because of the freedom that Horizon provides you, it also ends up diminishing the opportunities where it could do something a bit more interesting and weird. In every race except for the events, you can pick whatever car you want to use, and then every other car that races with you will be kind of like your car or around the same specifications. Which, while that is funny to create a situation where you pick a really high performance race car, track car, to do a rally race, and then everyone else is in one as well, which is funny. But it also means you can't do things like a Ferrari racing against a 4x4 all-terrain car, and then the track kind of has advantages for either of one in specific places, you know what I mean? The most you'll see of that is in those events, which are a lot more scripted, which of course, because they are scripted, there's a lot less of them. Which is fine, it's not like the game lacks content. To be fair, it's not like I don't have my issues with the scripted content as well, with the primary thing being it's very scripted. I know, crazy. I think the problem for me is you kind of create this idea that you're supposed to be racing these crazy things. Like at one point you're racing a train, at another one you're racing motor skis. But at the end of the day, you're always just racing a timer. Those vehicles will always just finish at the exact same time every run, and you have no way of affecting them, which I think takes away from their enjoyment. When the strings on this puppet are so obvious, the puppet master. But again, it's fine, it's a racing game. There's a lot of racing there. And there's a lot of options if you want to, and the multiplayer is great. I'm just kind of trying to nitpick at it as someone who likes more single player and tailored experiences. And I still think it's a great game regardless of all that. I still had a lot of fun playing with the cars. It's very easy to tune cars now. I mean, it's always been fairly easy, more than some other games. But here now I just found it super easy to just buy a car, modify it to whatever spec you want it, and there, it's done. I had a really dumb fast Supra and a bunch of other stuff, and it felt easy because the game kind of gives you a lot of money and you can just kind of buy the car you want. Sure, there's some cars that feel unachievable because they're like 15 million credits in the game. But most cars, and most cars you probably want, are achievable with simply by progressing through the story. The one thing I will say that it's still kind of a bit annoying, and obviously it is kind of one of those things where you have to pick quantity of cars or quantity of this, and Forza definitely goes for the quantity of cars, and that is visual tuning. Things like bumpers, hoods, spoilers. There just isn't a big variety here. There are body kits, which is cool as well, but the major thing here is that not every car does. It is very random in that way. Maybe random is not the best word. In fact, I'm guessing that a lot of it is Forza Horizon only has modifications that actually exist in the real world, maybe, with the ones that are fake being branded as the Forza ones. But regardless, my issue stands that what ends up happening is sometimes some cars just have barely any modifications at all, and then some other cars have pretty good options. And I just think it's a bit annoying because, of course, my opinion right now could just be a bit biased because maybe the cars I chose just didn't have a lot of options, and maybe if I had chosen other cars they would have. But at the end of the day, I want to play with the cars I want to, and they should probably have some more variety. But once again, this is very nitpicky. There is a lot of options of customization already here, and maybe they will add more, who knows. But I just wish there were more for the cars that I wanna play with, okay? I wanna put a big spoiler on a Mercedes AMG, okay? Anyways, to finish this off, I want to talk about the soundtrack. I'm specifically talking about the radio songs, because that's what you listen to the most. And the thing about it is, there's definitely some interesting choices here. But the primary thing I want to say is, it feels like a soundtrack from the 2000s, late 2000s, maybe early 10s, in such a way that if this was the soundtrack for Horizon 2 or 1, I wouldn't be surprised. Even if the songs themselves are new, the sound feels very much from that time. You have stuff like Bring Me the Horizon and Foo Fighters, It's like, okay, what year are we in? No offense to any of these bands, I'm sure they're still active. I mean, if they weren't, they probably wouldn't have songs in this game, but I just it seems funny to me, in a weird way. Regardless though, I enjoyed it. I was having fun. I had fun with this game. It was a good game. I know I kind of came off very negative in this review, and I'm just nitpicking because that's what I have to talk about. I don't really want to talk about the specifics, that the racing feels good. I like when the car goes sideways and then I push the throttle and then he go forward. If you played another Forza Horizon game, you know how this controls. You get it. And it feels good, okay? It's fine. Now, Forza Horizon 5 is getting a 7 out of 10. It's a racing game, it's a good one, it's probably one of the best ones, honestly, but the dialogue is not quite there. The gameplay is also not particularly very innovative from 4 to 5, so I do feel hesitant giving it a higher score than this. That being said, if you're looking to play Forza, this is an easy one to recommend. It is something you will most likely like. If you're new to Forza, then this is also an easy one to get into if it's your first game. But I will also say that go for the cheapest one if graphics don't matter to you, because they're very similar to each other. Personally, I would say 3, 4, and 5 are all extremely similar, and you wouldn't really be sad playing any of those at this moment. But given Games Pass, also, you probably don't have to worry about that, so you do you. Regardless of any of that though, I hope that you enjoyed watching, and if so, please consider subscribing. Please don't think I hate this game because I told you like 10 times I didn't. I enjoy it quite a lot. Regardless, remember to subscribe, like and comment, all the things you can do for free here on YouTube. And regardless of that, I hope you're having a good day, and goodbye.